Review. I am Marcas Grant. Not flying quite solo, but no corporate Greg today. He apparently is living the life at Terranea, playing golf and the like. Parker Bell is in parts unknown. But I am joined by Clint Pasillas. You can find him pretty much all over the place on the YouTubes, on the internet, talking Dodger baseball. Clint, glad you could make some time for us this morning, man. How you feeling?
I am feeling great. I'm feeling as good as the Dodgers feeling. They had a nice homestand. You take 2 of 3 against the powerhouse Orioles, 4-game lead in the National League West as they're about to play I don't know if they're the hated Diamondbacks, but we're feeling good on this Friday. Plus, as usual on these shows, it's early for me, so the coffee's flowing. But how
Absolutely.
you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. All those things are great. We're going to dive into some of that as well. Maybe some other sort of questionable things when it comes to health. But first, before we do that, want to remind everybody that the Blue Review, as always, is presented by LAX. At Los Angeles International Airport, changes are arriving daily to reduce traffic, save guest time, and transform the travel experience. You can get more info at flylax.com/transforminglax. All right, so Clint, let's get into it with the good things, though, right? You mentioned they take 2 out of 3 from the Orioles. The offense comes alive when they need to. They end up with a 6-4 win or was it 5-3 win last night? Sorry, I'm a couple days behind. But either way, they win 2 out of 3. They have a 4-game lead heading into Arizona this week. And I would say that what I thought was maybe one of the highlights of the week, I felt like the pitching staff did a really good job against what a really tough lineup, really sort of frustrating the Orioles more often than not. I felt like that was really great to see Walker Buehler have good starts, Bobby Miller have good starts. Felt really encouraging.
It's funny, yeah. Entering that series, you looked at they had Flaherty, Buehler, and Miller lined up. You didn't think they were going to win the Buehler and the Miller starts in that series, but still very good games, very good, promising stuff we saw out of Bobby Miller. Apparently pitching with a left knee injury, something bugging him there. Walker Buehler, the numbers don't tell the story of a very good start, but more encouraging things as we're still sitting here at a point, a couple days, a day and a half. We'll give it 2 full days before the start of September. We don't know what the Glasnow situation is going to look like in a week or two. We don't know what Yamamoto is going to look like in a week or two. So having those guys maybe showing signs of life late in the season. Hey, it's about what have you done for us lately when you get into October. So good stuff there.
Yeah, no, for sure. One of the things that we've talked about, me and Greg have talked about on this show, is sort of what the expectations or what the hopes are going to be for, say, Bobby Miller, Walker Buehler down the stretch. I would have said as a couple of weeks ago, neither one of us felt good about their long-term prospects being on this roster into October. I don't know that either one of them has pitched their way into being into the playoff rotation, but do you feel more confident at least heading down through September with these guys taking the ball every 5th or 6th day?
Through September, for sure. I think they've earned some extended looks. Whether or not they can earn a spot in a postseason rotation, I think I don't know if they have enough time. Maybe 5 more starts each to kind of build that resume for an October start. But really, I think for them, their role is going to be purely dictated on whether or not Glasnow and or Yamamoto are healthy. We know what Walker Buehler can do when he's healthy and he's not gassed in the postseason, so I think there's some fuel to that. Again, the last 2 for Bobby Miller been very, very nice if he's somebody who can kind of plug into a bullpen role or something like that. But I still feel like it might end up being kind of a stretch for them to pitch their way into postseason rotation roles. Now, if it comes down to the health, that's a whole other thing. You hope that's not the issue. You hope in 30 days time, the Dodgers have a bunch of good problems to have. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's pitching well. And it's like, sorry, you're just missing the cut. But, we still have kind of some big question marks over this final month. Team doing a lot better. You're feeling a lot better, but still some pretty big question marks at the top of the rotation.
Well, you talk about those question marks at the top of the rotation, and Yamamoto looks like he is progressing. I know he had a rehab start that they were really encouraged by. Ideally, he gets one more rehab start, and maybe we can see him back potentially in a week. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, it could be at a point. I think he threw on, what was it, Tuesday? Nice
Mhm.
2-inning outing. The next one's going to be a 3-inning outing. I think at AAA as well. And then after that, the door is open for a return. His next could be a 4-65, maybe a 5-70 max or something like that. But it should be at the big league level, and it should be, let's say, 10 days from now. It could be a realistic, possibility that Yamamoto is back, and then we can see what he's made of. And if he's anything close to what we saw in that Yankee start, the Dodgers are in a phenomenal spot heading into October. And I hope I don't have to come back and, pick myself on those words for getting a little too positive. But the big question mark, I'll say it again. I'm going to keep going Glasnow, because it's just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like the Dodgers know quite what's going on. I've had some people questioning whether or not they're just, kind of buying him some time because of the innings count, and maybe Glasnow isn't as on board about it. What's your take on this Glasnow situation?
I mean, I've seen that theory pop up. I just think that maybe this injury is progressing slower than anticipated. Because it just seems to fit in with a pattern. It's kind of become a running joke now when Dave Roberts says something, sort of think the opposite, right? When he says that a guy is fine, that it's going to be short term, that's when we all start to think the worst, right? I mean,
he's got 3 weeks to live. Yeah,
right, exactly. I was texting with Greg last night, and we got the update about Glasnow, and I was like, well, it's a damn shame he had to, was forced into early retirement, because that's sort of what it feels, right? Because I mean, look, Clint, this went from hey, we're going to hold him back just as a precaution, and Tyler really wanted to pitch, to he's going to be on the IL, but it's just a short-term thing. He'll be back soon. To like the latest thing yesterday was, we're hopeful that he pitches again this season. I mean, it's just
when Dave starts throwing around that word hopeful, that's when I just get terrified.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you saw you mentioned it there. You saw the first headline, the back and forth, like the severe communication or miscommunication or whatever, the communication breakdown between the two sides. Glasnow's like, I don't know why I'm going on the injured list. I'm ready to throw now. And then we get to hear a week later, oh, he's got seconds to live, and we're hopeful that he could pitch. And with Dave saying that, I wonder, is it the regular season that Dave is alluding to, or is it at all in 2024? Because you go out and get this guy. You go out and extend this guy for October. And now we're at this point where they don't know. It doesn't seem like they know what's going on, or they're just not playing. They're not playing this Phantom IL thing very well, or Glasnow is not on board with sitting right now. Whatever it is, again, it's very weird. It's very fishy. It's very Dodgers. It feels very Dodgers to me.
Yeah, it does feels very Dodgers. At this point, I'm taken to calling him Doc Roberts, mostly ironically, because the medical opinions that he's giving out seem to be incredibly wrong-headed at this point. Like, I don't think it's intentional. I just think, he says one thing and it turns out to be something else. Like, I don't think he's potentially trying to lead, intentionally trying to lead people astray. I think it sort of happens. But I mean, I guess since we're on this path of medical diagnoses, how concerned have you been about Freddie Freeman missing the entirety of the Orioles series with a finger issue that previously he had tried to play through?
I think they kind of screwed the pooch on that one. I didn't like him playing. When I heard fractured middle finger, I was like, just give him the day, or give him the time. If they put him on the 10-day IL when they should have or could have, when the incident happened, they could have retroactive, and I think he would have missed only like 7 days of the 10 days off. And I mean, obviously his finger after 10 days wasn't going to be completely healed, but at least it would have had a better head start. But instead he goes out there, he's playing with this banged up digit, and he goes, 3 for 23. He looks bad. And I worry about him building bad habits in that swing, because sometimes he can get into that rabbit hole. We saw it this time a year ago as he was chasing, the 50 doubles or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. He kind of was chasing power a little bit, or maybe it was the homer. I forget exactly what it was, but he was chasing and kind of expanded, built the bad habits, and went 1 for 10, 1 for 11 in the postseason. So I would much rather have seen them just put him on the IL. Cut your losses there. You have enough dudes around who could fill in for him for the time being. And hey, if he went on the IL, Jason Hayward might still have a job in LA, but that's a whole other different thing there. But They say Freddie's going to be back in the lineup tonight. I'm not. I'm interested to see how the swing is looking, how the contact is looking. But I didn't like it at all. The fact that they did not put him on there. I'll say I'm not a doctor either, but I'm just saying fractured finger. That tells you that his finger is fractured. Maybe give it a chance to rest when you have whatever it was, 7-8 weeks until the postseason at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of this too. At least when they put him back in initially. Maybe it's panic, mild panic. I mean, they were watching their lead in the division shrink, right? The Padres were red hot. The Diamondbacks were red hot. That lead was just getting smaller and smaller. And it just felt like part of the reason they had Freddie in there was because they were just worried about this thing slipping away. I don't know that they have breathing room necessarily, but again, if the absolute worst happens, you still leave Arizona tied for the lead in the division. In the meantime, though, I mean, can this team survive, at least in the short term, say with a Kike Hernandez over at first base with trying to fill in, find innings for Chris Taylor and whomever? I mean, can they cobble together enough at least to kind of get them through what's a huge series this weekend?
Well, I mean, in that scenario where if there was no Freddie, I think they could have survived. We saw them survive and take 2 or 3 against the Orioles, who they're not a bad team. They're tied for or were tied at one point for the lead in the AL East with them the powerhouse Yankees and all that kind of stuff. The reason you have guys like Kike around is to play them. If he's in there at first for a couple more days than you'd expect, it's not that huge of a deal. But now I also agree with your point there that they are looking at that division. They're looking at these hot snakes on their tail, and now a 4-game series heading into Arizona. So there is a lot of importance there, and you need to have all of your guys ready to go. So I can understand like here and the funny thing is Freddie could have been active for this series if they just, IL'd him at the right time before, but whatever, you make your bed and now you have to lay in it. But again, I'm really hopeful we don't see the same kind of, I don't know if it was a flailing swing, but when Freddie's off, it like even just a hair, it's not the same guy that we've seen over the last, when he's right over the last couple of years in Dodger blue, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you on that. But obviously, it is great to have everybody healthy, to have everybody ready to go for this big series. I mean, so let's sort of talk about this, right? Because tonight, Clayton Kershaw on the mound against Zach Gallen. I know the last start for Kershaw wasn't particularly great. Expectations for him, or I guess what do they need out of him? Is it just to get them through 5, maybe 6 innings, possibly, or can we expect more from Kershaw at this point?
Six in Arizona might be tough. I think if you can get him through 5 and maybe like 2 runs, cut your losses there. Be happy he made it that far. I know Kershaw's going to be kind of a little upset at himself coming off of that last start. He's had more rest entering this series as well. So if you are able, I'll keep it there. If he's cruising, maybe play with house money and try to get into 6, but you got a pretty stacked bullpen right now, even though they kind of went for it yesterday to be able to take that series win against the Orioles. You should have arrested enough Kopech. Danny Hudson pitched now just that one day. He'll probably be down today, but you have most of your bullpen ready to go. You're getting another guy in on Sunday with most likely Justin Robleski taking a start where you might need a long man there. So now I'm maybe Kershaw does need to start a little bit more. But beyond that, you have the other guy backing him up. Gavin Stone goes tomorrow, and Stoner's been phenomenal for this team. Yeah. He's somebody you can almost kind of pencil in 6 or 7 innings, but we're also talking about a very good Diamondbacks team right now, and we're also talking about Chase Field, which hasn't been notoriously friendly to Dodgers pitching in recent years. So that's where I kind of worry about Kershaw, playing a little too much with house money in Arizona. So just get what you can out of him, get out of there and try to survive, because the bare minimum you need to split this series, but I'm looking at 3. You got to take 3 or 4 to call yourselves, give yourself that really, really nice cushion heading into September with all these health issues and all of that. But
yeah, for sure. Taking 3 out of 4 would be great. Somehow they somehow get all 4 would be amazing. But I think that's sweep it up would be amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned Daniel Hudson. Any insight as to where he's been for the last 10 days? Because he was just sort of AWOL, it felt like.
Yeah, apparently they just gave him kind of a little late season sabbatical. The dude hasn't pitched a whole lot over the last couple of years. He's older. He's an older fella. With all due respect, because I think him and I are the same age. But even so, or maybe he's younger than me. I don't know. I got to look at the stats on that one. But it was more so just kind of giving. Everybody else has had the sort of baked in break or time off, like the initial back injury for Tyler Glasnow. Let's be fair, that was mostly to kind of give him a little bit of a blow in the middle of a season because he is throwing a lot of innings. Mm-hmm. But I think that was mostly their situation with Danny Hudson, is just give him a little bit of a breather with another like 4-week ramp up to back end the season and get him ready for the postseason. So we saw him last night, a little rusty, as Dave Roberts said, but he's been nails for this team all season. I have very little fear of Daniel Hudson kind of falling apart or having anything go wrong for him. And one of those things, I really hope that doesn't come back to bite me. the baseball god's getting mad at me, but we should be good. I think it should be engines go, full engines go moving forward for Huddy.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that when he's right and he's healthy, he's very high up on Dave Roberts' trust tree, right? That we talk about all the time here. One of the things we've talked about, though, is it doesn't seem like there's a consistent path to the ninth inning for the bullpen, right? That Roberts has sort of mixed and matched and kind of found guys and found innings wherever he could. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I think we've just become accustomed to, you got a guy that is your fireman, right? When things are going wrong, you go to him out of the bullpen. You have your seventh inning guy, your eighth inning guy, and then your closer. It hasn't really worked like that so far this season. Do you feel like they have to, or are we okay with how things are working?
I mean, they did early in the season. Like Evan Phillips was that guy. Obviously, he had a really, really bad month of July. He's been fantastic in August again, but I think this is really what the team wanted. And that addition of Michael Kopech, when they got him, you saw the numbers. I'm like, really, this is the guy you're going with, Andrew? But then you always learn, trust Andrew Friedman, especially when it comes to random ass relievers. I think this is what they like, is a little bit of everybody that can do a little bit of everything all over the bullpen. And I know some people, my Dodgers Territory co-host, Alana Rizzo, frequent guest there on the ESPN LA, she has a big time problem without with this team not having a designated closer. And I don't think that's as big of an issue when you get into October. I don't know how you feel about the closer situation, but to button up my side of your question, I'm okay with the bullpen usage. Plus, it kind of seems like you're getting this bridge to Phillips being that eighth inning guy and Kopech being that ninth inning guy, and Kopech has looked nasty in Dodger blue. But how do you feel about not having a closer per se?
Maybe I'm just old. I'm gonna say old school. Maybe I'm just old. It just feels like you need that guy who's going to have that lockdown mentality in the ninth inning, right? I am on record as saying I think Michael Kopech should have the job. And look, I love what Evan Phillips has done. He had that, you mentioned that speed bump in the middle of the season, and he's certainly buttoned it up and been a lot better. But I feel great with Kopech coming out of the bullpen, throwing 100 miles an hour literally in the ninth inning and mowing guys down. And look, in the event that Kopech's not available, right? If you've used him back-to-back days, then you can easily revert back and have Phillips be that guy in the ninth inning. So I don't know. I think I'm just more traditional, and I just want to know that guys have roles. I just think mentally it helps you sort of prepare for that. I know Alana has been, well, at least for a while, was on the bring back Kenley Jansen train. I don't know if you share that sentiment with her.
Not even slightly. He could sign a Matt Kemp one-day contract somewhere down the road. I don't want to see Kenley Jansen pitching for this team again. It's not. I love Kenley. His time has passed here in LA, but at the same time, I could understand you. You say you're old. Trust me, I'm feeling you right there as well. And people like us watching this team coming up in LA. This team has always had a closer, at least over the last 20, 25 years, whether it was Gagne, Takashi Saito. Well, I'll throw out some Jonathan Broxton in there because he was good at different points in time. Hell, even Javi Guerra had a decent run. And then, of course, Kenley Jansen for the better part of 10 years. We are used to having a closer, but now you have a lot of guys that can get the job done in the ninth inning. You mentioned if Kopech's not ready, there's Phillips, but there's also Danny Hudson, who's picked up a number of saves this year. Alex Vesia, not nothing nothing wrong with him picking up some outs in the ninth inning. Just get the best guys in the best spots, pick up 27 outs, and go get yourself that piece of metal from and what's his name, Rob Manfred.
Yeah. Yeah, the only commissioner who seems to actually hate the sport that he is in charge of, Rob Manfred. It's wild. So I mean, here we go. Like four games in Arizona this week. You mentioned that Chase Field generally has not been friendly to the Dodgers. Christian Walker. In a world where Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado are no longer in the division, Christian Walker seems to have taken up the mantle of the guy who's paying off the mortgage on Dodger pitching right now. Do they have to get game one? I know, you talked about that you'd like to see them win 3 out of 4. Is it imperative for them to get game one to have a successful weekend?
You've seen, Twitter, the cesspool. You've seen Dodgers fans after, I'll say the royal we, us Dodgers,
right.
we being the Dodgers, you go into San Diego and you lose that game one and they just look flat. Like they look like they're missing a spark. I hate that feeling. We saw it in the postseason the last 2 years as well. It's like, why are they having more fun in the dugout than we are? We all look miserable. We being, the Dodgers.
The Dodgers, right. Mm-hmm.
I can't really get the ball much past 65 miles an hour, but I'll close some games for you. So I fully agree with the fact that game one is it's so stupid to say it's a must win when we're talking about a game on August 30th, but it kind of is. I said last night on my show, this is the most important series of the year, especially if this team wants to win another, NL West title. It goes through this series because the Diamondbacks are a very damn good team and they're the reigning National League champions for a reason. Is this a must win for you?
I want to say yes, but then again, I sort of felt like that with the Orioles series, right? Where, they had Flaherty going in that first game and then we knew it was going to be Buehler and Miller after that. And so it felt like after they lost game one of the series that it was a missed opportunity. Then they turned around and they went back-to-back games and ended up taking 2 out of 3. So, I mean, my brain says yes. My heart says no, that they can figure out a way to do it. Because I'll say this, the one thing that I have taken away from this team this year is that against the really good teams in the really big series, they have shown up well. I mean, we saw that early in the year against the Braves. We saw it, that huge series at Yankee Stadium. They showed up and they played some of their best ball of the season. Then they've had some head scratches. I mean, that series against the Tigers before the All-Star break was just a killer a little bit. So I'm sort of hoping that maybe that's the case, that this team understands the magnitude of what's going to happen over the next 4 days and they show up in a big way. I was gonna say those teams though, it tends to not happen against their NL West rivals.
True. Whether it be the less so the Giants, whether it be the Padres or the Diamondbacks, they tend to kind of go in there a little flat. James in the chat saying definitely a tone setter this game one of this huge NL West matchup between the Snakes and the Dodgers. But anyway.
No, absolutely it was. It's funny too. You talk about watching the postseason and seeing all the other teams seem to have a lot more life. The way I've sort of felt after the last couple of the playoff series has been, it just seems like the Dodgers went in there surprised that the other teams also wanted to win. Like
putting it,
like they seemed caught off guard that the other teams were also trying to win the series, and just kind of had this shell-shocked look after a couple of games. So I don't know. I mean, we've had this running theory. I know we're not the only ones that maybe this is good. Maybe being pushed in August and September is good for this team. I don't know if you feel that way, that, now that they have games that matter in September, it's been a while, that maybe this means something for October.
I've been barking up that tree for a couple of years, honestly. I said after the 22 loss, I was like, let them just get rid of everybody. Let them go out there and win 86 games, make them feel like they're playing for something, wild card round, have some sort of like, hey, we're not, the $1 billion spending Dodgers anymore. Like, actually play for something. Of course, they are the $1 billion spending Dodgers, so they have all of this other pressure that goes along with trying to win ball games and whatnot. But it's going to be nice to not just cruise into the postseason, because last time they actually played for something in 2021, they played much better, and they had scraps for a lineup. I mean, JT was old and then literally broken in the postseason. You had a guy named Andy Burns making starts for the team in the postseason. Billy McKinney, Max Scherzer didn't want to take any starts down for this team, but they still played for something and made it into the NLCS. The last two teams, they kind of it felt way too complacent for me when you get into October. So give me some competition here in the month of September. I think it's going to be very fun, and it's also going to be very frustrating for Dodgers fans.
Yeah, we need the gutty little Dodgers, not the evil empire. That's sort of been rolling out there.
See, baby. Let's go.
Exactly. Clint, great times as always. Appreciate you jumping in. For the folks who are somehow uninitiated, where can they find your stuff?
Well, you can find me on the internet as Real FRG, on the Twitter, the Instagram there. Or, of course, I have my own YouTube channel, Dodgers Territory. All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas, and then I co-host a show called Dodgers Territory with Alana Rizzo every Monday and Thursday, part of the Foul Territory Network. Hey, look at that. Wearing the company merch.
Repping the gear.
Yeah, check me out. There's a whole bunch of Dodger talk out there. Way too much maybe involving me, but I appreciate you having me on today, Marcus, and have yourself a great weekend, and let's go sweep.
Absolutely. Let's go get it done in Arizona. Thanks to everybody in the chat for hanging out. Stick around. Travis and Sliwa coming up next. We're not with you on Monday, taking the day off for the holiday. We'll be back with you on Tuesday. Presumably, Parker Bell and Corporate Greg will be back with us again. And hopefully, we're talking about a very successful Dodger weekend. In the meantime, thanks for hanging out with us. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.